No, I studied classical music when I was a little guy. My dad was a guitar player, so he started teaching me when I was 8, and then when I was 11, I started taking classical lessons and like traditional folk styles as well, American folk styles. And then yeah, the rest of it you just kind of pick up on the way. Some of the stuff that, like, nobody really showed me how to do this kind of stuff. Most of this was just thinking about writing music from the standpoint that you're sitting in right now, as an audience person, as somebody. So like I spend a lot of time, even without instruments, just like driving a car, thinking, what would it look like if I did this? And then I try to figure out how to go do that. And sometimes it's quite complicated. Like that rhythm took me a long time to figure out how to do that. Like nobody really showed me how to play 2 guitars at the same time, and discovering the alternate tunings, nobody really taught me how to do that either. Most of it was just sitting around, and I call it flailing. You just kind of flail about until some music comes out, and then you know, take those little pieces of music and you start putting together into other things. And I have several different ways that I practice. I have those, I call them the flailing about sessions, where you kind of get an idea and you just kind of mess around and you can do that for a couple hours at a time. But then I have much more structured practices as well, like where if I'm working on a particular difficult piece, then I'll sit down and work out, like whatever I'm having problems with, I'll work it out for an hour or 2 hours sometimes. And then I have other practice sessions where I take those pieces that I've practiced and start putting them together. So like with Money Jesus in particular, the way that went, I had to figure out how to do the drum and the mandolin at the same time. So I actually spent a lot of time, you know, probably a good 2 days straight, like 12 hours within 2 days practicing, where I just practiced with my right hand. I just practiced that. And then put that together with the other part. So I spent a while practicing this part, and then I had another practice session where I put all the pieces together. And then once I put all those pieces together and I finally figure out how to do it, it still has a lot of flaws. There's a lot of kinks within the work. So I have another practice session that I do. It's also quite organized, that I actually record, where I can go back and listen to it, where I actually run through the whole entire set. All the new songs, and I try to put together like 6 or 7 new songs at one go, so that practice session I just go 6, 7 songs, practice them, find where the bugs are by listening to it later, like the little kinks in the works that's not quite fitting well. But I'll go through that, and I'll just do that like maybe once a day. I'll just run through the entire set just once a day, just enough to make those synapses, those little connections in your brain that I'm trying to, you know, when you practice, you're trying to make those, it's like programming a computer basically. You're trying to get your brain to work in different ways. So yeah, you do that on a daily basis, just run through that set list, and then you don't have to work at it until you're tired of it. But just if you do it on a daily basis, it makes the synapses a lot stronger, and you don't get tired of it as well. I've played in a lot of bands. I've pretty much tried everything you can try in music. I've played heavy metal, and I used to, you know, is that weird? Yeah, I've played in country bands. I've played in blues bands, and when I was younger, that's just what I did. Was, you know, find anybody that could play, and if they happened to play heavy metal, I was like, oh well, we're going to play heavy metal. I guess I'll learn how to sing Megadeth songs, and I don't do that so much anymore, just because now that it's my living, and I don't have to have anybody else to do it. I don't take anybody else. I don't occasionally put a jam session together and play with other musicians, but they're people that I want to play with. They're not people that I have to play with. But yeah, every experience you can experience playing music is always good. Even if it's completely out of your comfort level. If you're a blues player, you should try to play heavy metal sometimes, or try to learn some country licks or some classical licks. Or the way I look at it is like, even as much as I've practiced and as long as I've played, I'm never going to actually be a master of the guitar, because there's always something that you can learn from somebody. There's always somebody out there that has something that you haven't figured out yet. And, so if you ever call yourself a master and you say, I've mastered the guitar, then you've just stopped your learning process, you know? I don't have to learn anymore. I don't have anybody else that can teach me. That's never going to happen, really, is it? If you treat writing as a job, like if you want it to be your job, you treat it like a job. In other words, you sit down and you do it, whether or not you actually have any kind of inspiration to do it. So I try to write a little bit every day, whether I feel like it or not. And most of the time, it's crap. It's absolute rubbish, but. Every once in a while you find a gem and you're absolute rubbish, and sometimes you get frustrated. I mean, that's part of the creative process, is getting frustrated with yourself because you're not creating enough or you're not writing enough. And, you know, just kind of keep writing and then walk away from it, and then keep writing and then walk away from it, and then come back to it and you say, oh, well, actually, that's brilliant. I didn't have writer's block after all. I wrote something really, really intelligible and really, really, you know, important. But sometimes when you're in the process, it doesn't feel like that. Sometimes you'll think something is really brilliant, and then you walk away from it, and you'll come back and you go, that is crap. What was I thinking? I do that with music, and especially lyrics. Lyrics I have to work really hard on because I'm not naturally that inclined. I don't. You write lyrics? Is that what you write, writer's block with lyrics? Yeah, I have writer's block a lot with lyrics just because I'm not. Some people, that's what they do. They write lyrics. Some people write music, and it's just kind of how your brain's wired. I've always had to work really hard at writing lyrics, though, because I'm not that inclined. I can write music all day long. I can sit at the piano and come up with melodies all day long, but when it actually comes to putting pen to paper and actually making something intelligible,
sometimes it's really complicated to imagine them, like the lyrics and the music.
Yeah, it can be quite a complicated thing. Yeah, I completely feel for you. Just write through it though, because I'm the same way. I get really frustrated with myself, or you know, and then you just walk away, and you just sometimes you're writing brilliance and you don't realize it.